Yeah.
I don't know. Those curtains
What are you
that we
guys
had
talking
though
about?
had all the Boris in them, so that would have been protective for you.
Yeah, that's true.
We were
And we're
talking about
talking.
the unity of science.
Yeah.
What makes a science one?
And I started off just asking if like biology, physics, if they were distinct sciences or if they were just branches of natural science. And I think Jake has it framed right that those are branches because they're treated under
Yeah,
the same formal ratio of motion, just
I
different
mean,
kinds of motion.
we had this debate
So
a
those
little
different
bit.
kinds of motion aren't differentiated into species. Those wouldn't be properly species of motion. The way you made continuous and discrete
Well,
species of
motion.
quantity.
Well, I don't think you could have them to be real species because motion isn't a genus, properly speaking, right? It's not. It's well.
Yeah.
I mean, Aristotle has this difficulty when he's trying to define motion, right? He says what category does it belong to? He says,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of too universal. It doesn't belong to any category, right? But if it doesn't belong to any category, then it's not a genus, right? And if it's not a genus, then it doesn't properly have species underneath it. Um, so, but I mean, we sort of had a version of this debate pop up before with Canassus because we had remember the whole thing about, okay,
no, I
well, what
don't
does
remember.
Yeah, and I never took any of Canassus's classes.
Yeah, but I've talked about him sufficiently enough
I'm
to
sure.
to
Yes.
fill you in about our disagreement about, well, what does De Anima belong to? Is it a part of metaphysics? Is it a part of natural philosophy? It's a part of physics, right? And he's all okay. If you're studying the soul, it's metaphysics, right? And I'm saying I don't think that that's right because the notion under which you treat the soul is as form of the body, and that's a kind of mobile being, and that means it's a part of natural philosophy, specifically the part of natural philosophy that we'd call biology.
So why did he think it belonged to metaphysics then?
Because you're dealing with a form that's separable.
But
from
don't you
matter.
not know that until you are studying it? Like you prove that the soul is immortal in the De Anima,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you start by looking at natural bodies.
So I guess Canassus would say that when we start thinking about the soul, we're in physics, and then we transition to metaphysics somewhere along the way, or maybe we realize at the end of it all that we were doing metaphysics the whole time.
No, his idea is that if your subject is soul, and soul, nothing about the soul in its consideration demands the body. Like you can just think about the soul separate from the body.
Only the
You don't have
rational
to.
soul. And that's not where De
Well,
Anima begins.
I think this is what he was saying. You could consider the soul separate from the body, just in general. It's just form, which there's something to that. But
I don't know if
not
there is, because
no.
they
Well,
define
I mean,
soul relative to body.
that
Breaking up on us.
what it's form.
Wait, say that
Oh,
all
sorry.
again for me, please. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what Canassus's argument is, and it seems to me that the claim he was making was a soul is a form. It's just a form. Whether that form is united to a body or not is besides the point. If you're just talking about forms, the science that deals with forms on their own is properly metaphysics. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems to me that was the point that he was making. But yeah, obviously I wasn't on board with that. So
I guess you could have like a metaphysics of soul or something, right? If you, I don't know.
What do you mean?
I'm trying to reach here, but I don't.
Well, I think when it's considered, this is why doesn't Thomas say this in the commentary on the De Anima, like why it stops. Aristotle stops at 3, 5 with just that part of the rational soul is immortal, and then what he goes on to talk about something else in chapter 6 and through the end, because Thomas, to consider the soul in its separated state would belong to metaphysics, right?
As separable from matter and motion.
No, I mean, no, I don't think so, because even that discussion is in reference to the fact that the soul is the form of the body. You certainly stop talking about the intellect at 3.5, because that's pretty much all you can say about it as such.
Yeah.
I don't know if he says anything more. I would, if I were guessing, it would make more sense to me for St. Thomas to say something like this. It stops here, because you can't really say anything else about the soul separate from the body unless you've got some revelation. So
hence after the body's death, the soul no longer knows anything in the same way as before, but how it does know anything then is not part of our present inquiry.
Right. Does he say it's part of metaphysics, or?
No, I don't know. I didn't see it there, so.
Okay.
That's talking about the metaphysics for something else. I don't know, I'd have to go back and through, but definitely he says
it's the only other place it could be.
But he does say, whatever happens after the soul separation, though, Thomas does seem to think that's just not part of the natural. It's not part of the natural study of the soul.
Right. Yeah, I think that's absolutely.
Yeah,
the soul as separable is part of the natural study of the soul.
Yeah.
But the soul as separated is not.
But where would that would have to belong to metaphysics, wouldn't it? Or where would that?
Or just theology? I don't know what you could say about it in metaphysics, because in the treatise on man, right, in the Summa, when isn't there a whole question devoted to the soul as separate?
Yeah.
And isn't every premise taken from the passage in Scripture about, I don't know, Lazarus and the rich man, and he says, oh well, here's what's going on in this story. Which means here's what you can take out of what the soul is like after it separates from the body.
That I don't remember. Not saying that I don't remember. Like, I remember the text, and I don't remember that being there. I don't remember this text hardly at all.
Yeah, I don't see it in 75.2. That's just whether the human soul is something subsistent.
It's a later question.
Oh, you mean, okay, so later in okay.
The knowledge of the separated soul, 89, yeah.
89, yeah. But it's about the knowledge of the separated soul. I don't know. I don't see a question about the separated soul per se.
Well, this is about the separated soul.
Whether the separated soul understands separate substances, that's Article 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is about the separated soul. So.
Yeah, but it's about its knowledge, not its,
That's, I mean, if metaphysics were to consider it at all, it would be because of its knowledge. That's what you know it as, right? It's a separate intellect.
The knowing thing.
Yeah. It's only separable in virtue of its intellect, right? So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm kind of looking through these too.
Your Lazarus one is Article 2.
Yeah, I think it happens more, if I'm not mistaken.
Where do you? That's on the contrary.
The rich man in hell, Article 4. That's the said. I'm looking at said contras here.
Yeah, I was gonna say none of those are not that I see as premises in the argument, but I'm not looking that deeply or that particularly.
Yeah, he uses Luke 16 twice in a row for said contra. Oh, is that 3 times in a row? That is kind of interesting. Okay, maybe it's just twice.
It's in several. I mean, it's in Article 6 too. Article 7. Article 8. No.
Well, those are all the sed contras.
No, sorry, Article 7. Yeah, I know, but he's working off of that. Seems to me.
Yeah, like so he's going to tell you what we're talking about in this article is what is being spoken about in Luke 16. Now let me tell you about it.
Yeah. It's not for St. Thomas in this question. Those passages are not just here's why the objector is wrong, but they're really springboards from which the whole Respondeo is built, I'd say, or dove into.
That works.
All right.
Let's see.